Do you want to know more about building an in-scale model railroad? Why don't you stick around and watch this segment, see how we do it on my in-scale model railroad, the Sayre Secondary. Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey, Conrail and N-Scale. Welcome back. So this episode, this is going to be our state of the layout address. So actually looking through the comment section on the last video, Sparky107107 was saying, hey, how about a layout tour? It's been a while. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's been a long time since I did one of these, so I got something special planned. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you on a walking tour of the layout, and then I will then pull out a train and we will follow it from staging to staging, so then you can get a better understanding of how the layout is really laid out when we follow the train. But I want to do a walking tour with you. I think we'll start here in Sayreville and just go all the way around and end down in Toms River. And just to give you an overview of the work that's progressed over the last 1.5 to 2 years since our last tour, and I can point out some things as we go along. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the equipment here and get all set up, and we'll start our tour. All right. Okay, so here we are starting in Sayreville. So this end of Sayreville here would be closest to the Raritan River. So the river would be over in this area here. This represents national lead. It's only about half of, not even, it's probably about a quarter of the facility. And that is because it's such a massive facility. They had 2 facilities to make sulfuric acid, and then they had a large lignite ore processing facility, and then they had a production facility to make titanium dioxide. So that's what they did here at National Lead. So the only thing I really was able to fit in is just one of the sulfuric acid towers and a couple of other buildings. So the facility that's on the back of the wall over here, that represents Middlesex MUA. It was a large sewage treatment facility, and in the 70s and early 80s they were getting liquid chlorine deliveries for water treatment before they discharged into the Raritan River. So that's what that facility is here. Now this little tail track here, this is what I use to represent the Parlin Yard. Even though the Parlin Yard wouldn't be this far to the east, it was actually to the west of this location. I kind of use that as the Parlin Yard. So trains will back down in here and they'll stick out over here. I added that to give the operators a little more car space because we were a couple car lengths shy. So I kind of built that. This section here is kind of the oldest section on the layout. This was one of the very first sections that I built the scenery and structures for. And, you know, I did learn a lot since then. I know that there were some mistakes that I made with timing. The biggest thing about this section is that I should have made it more complete because my whole thing was I was going to come back to each section and do it, but it's been close to 3 or 4 years now and I haven't been able to get back to it. So yeah, so as I progressed along in the layout, I completed each section more thoroughly as I went along. Okay, now let's move further to the east down the Sayreville running track and I'll reposition there. Okay, so we've located further to the east on the Sayreville running track. This facility here is the Sunshine Biscuit Corporation. As many of you know, because you've watched the video before, this is where my grandfather used to work. It's a pretty accurate representation based off photographs. However, there was a lot of compression involved. One of the largest sections that was compressed was this section right in here with these windows. There's actually times it by 3. There's 2 more additional sections in there. I just had to omit them because it would have been pretty much taken up the whole peninsula. However, the one problem with this facility was that it's permanently affixed, and that's why that one section in there, the lights are dark, because I used those miniature fluorescent ballast lights and they burnt out, so I wasn't able to get in there and change it out. So that's why from this point forward I didn't permanently affix any buildings to the layout. Okay, so if I pan here to the east, this is going to be the main line, the Sayre Secondary. That signal there is what I call CP1. That really is just a signal to let you know that which direction the traffic is traveling and whether the lower level is clear or not. Okay, so in this scene here, the track down here, this is the Sayreville running track that curves around. The track where the train is sitting on, that's the main, and the track on the inside of that, that would be the switching lead for Brown's Yard. Okay, so this scene here, this is the South Amboy Engine Facility. So the South Amboy Engine Facility was originally a Pennsylvania Railroad facility. There was two portions to it. There was the diesel steam service area, and then they had an electric service area, and that would be where this track is here. That would be for the electrics. I didn't model that portion, so here I modeled that after Conrail Day 1, they've taken over the facility, and in the prototype, Conrail did operate the facility for a short time until 1982 when they divested themselves of the transit trains. So now it was then turned over to New Jersey Transit, who then abandoned it when they moved all engine servicing to the Meadowlands facility, and it's now been demolished. So this is the model that I can represent from pictures. The sand tower is also represented from pictures. It was originally the coal dock for the Pennsylvania Railroad, but it was converted into sand. And then the water tower is a Walters unit that also represents the water facility at South Amboy. That building on the back wall, that would be the ice thawing facility for the coal docks. And if you look over there through the trees, you can see that I've represented the Hewlett loader at South Amboy on the Raritan Bay for the coal loading facility. Okay, so this is Brown's Yard, my representation of Brown's Yard. It's located in Sayreville, New Jersey. Now, even though the engine facility on the layout is right next door, there's actually about 2 to 3 miles between the two locations. However, it was just the best I could do to fit them all together. This would be the yard office at Brown's Yard, and then we have a receiving track, the arrival departure track, track 1, which is kind of just another staging track, and then all of the classification tracks are in the back. So here we're heading railroad south because the Sayerhurst secondary runs more north-south than it does east-west, so we would be going to the south this way. So this is the scale facility that I put in at Brown's Yard. There is no scale at Brown's, however, I added one, and that would be to add operational interest so that I could weigh the sand loads coming out of Ocean County down by Lakehurst. Okay, so now at the end of Brown's Yard, this is where we get into the Jamesburg area. So there's a Y here that you can't see in the trees, and it goes through the hole in the wall, and that goes into the family into the Dayton secondary down in Dayton, New Jersey, and then this continues on. The main line goes this way. The buildings that you see here on Gatsmer Avenue, this is a Gulf station. I can't remember the manufacturer. Then there's a convenience store that I converted into the Cumberland Farms. I can't remember the manufacturer of that one either. Then I have an abandoned station. That was actually a Craftsman kit that I put together. And that kind of represents the Pennsylvania Railroad's upper Jamesburg station. Because at one point, Jamesburg had 2 stations. So coming down here into Jamesburg, the town of Jamesburg, that would be the Parkside Bar and Tavern, which was also known as Sloppy's. Then we come over here, and this is Jamesburg Veterans Memorial Park. Okay, everyone, so that hole in the wall off the Y comes through and breaks out into the family room here, ducks under the New Jersey Turnpike coming down into Dayton. This is called the Amboy Secondary here. This is the BASF expanded polystyrene facility. They make white insulation foam to put around construction materials. It's actually a kit bash of a Walters Superior paper. We have a runaround here, and then we come down, and this is RJR Foods right down in here. This is a refrigerated produce facility. They are a Del Monte company. So that's what that is here. And then if you see, this is just another unnamed industry. And this I got the idea from Model Railroader. They published an article a couple of years ago. When you have a building that comes up against the fascia, what to do with it. So I kind of made a little scene in there so you can see it. So it just adds a little more switching jobs, and you know, looks nice out here in the family room. So when you're sitting down watching TV, you can see it. Okay, back to the other room. That is a 3D print of the memorial at Jamesburg, done by 1/160th 3D printing. I refer back to the video from Jamesburg. I have the link to his website in the narrative. He does some really great 3D prints, a lot of custom work. So that was actually perfect for that scene. So down in the town of Jamesburg, there's some other structures. Jamesburg is like 7 blocks long. I couldn't fit it all in. There was tons of buildings, very interesting buildings, but unfortunately I had to really scale back through this section here. I just kind of put in some key structures that I remember. This here would have been, I think there was a Chinese food place and another the florist on this corner here in this building. That building is not an exact replica. It's actually a Craftsman kit. Then again, the Domino's Pizza, it's a little compressed. I just wanted to do a kit. I didn't want to do an exact replica of the building, so that's what I did. That was actually the City Pizza kit. It's a laser etched wood kit. That is for the post office, the representation of the post office. I used a Woodland Scenics pre-built building, and then the attorney's office here. That is an Atlas kit. This here is the crossing gate assembly that was done for me by Brian W. using an Arduino. The crossing signals are NJ International. The traffic signals are from a Chinese company. Don't remember the name on that one. It was one of those pop-up ads that came through Facebook. So yeah, I got them. They're very inexpensive and they work perfectly. And then it's run with an Arduino. Don't ask me about the Arduinos because I don't really know too much about them. That's one part that I haven't gotten into. So what normally happens is you see the traffic light goes through its cycles, and then when the IR sensor is tripped, it cycles to all red on all 4 corners, and then the crossing signals come on with the bell, and then when the second IR sensor is tripped, then it clears. Okay, so this lake here, this is Manalapan Lake in Jamesburg. The spillway, the bridge, the canal, the railroad bridge, it's all very accurate representation. It's not like prototype rivet counter perfect. The resin pour for the lake came out really good, came out better than I expected. The whole process I thought was a nightmare. However, I think now that it's been almost a year since I did it, and I've always said that I would never do it again, I think I would probably do it and suffer through the pain again. So kind of changing my mind on it, and seeing as how good it came out and how good it really held up, and knowing now what I did wrong, I think I might end up doing another pour somewhere, but I just got to figure out where. But yeah, so if you have any questions on that video, refer back to the Manalapan Lake pour, and that's in the scenery playlist. So the road that you see there turning off towards the backdrop would be Route 522 coming out of Jamesburg. And then we're going to kind of cut scenes where there's this field. We kind of skip through Monroe and Manalapan on the freehold secondary, and we come to High Bridge Road. High Bridge Road was very important to me because of the Englishtown Fire Department. So here is my representation of the Englishtown Fire Department. It's pretty much to scale. I got pretty much all of the details that I could, complete with the sign and the name on the front of the building. I can't get any further in here with the camera because we're right up against the layout. So these two fire trucks on the apron, the engine and the ladder, these are American LaFrance models. They are from GHQ. They're all white metal, and I painted them up to best represent Freehold Borough Engine 1 and Goodwill Hook and Ladder number 4 out of Freehold. Kind of just saying that they're standing by in Englishtown because Englishtown's out on a call. I am researching, and it's a project to do in the future, is to actually build all the fire trucks for Englishtown Fire Department. But the problem is it's just going to take some time, and they're going to all have to be scratch built. Okay, so now moving past the Englishtown Fire Department, there's a house that divides that's right by the agway that kind of breaks up the scene. Then we come down to the agway. So the agway, there's not many pictures of it before the fire because there was a fire. I posted on Facebook the articles itself. There was a major fire in the silo and the whole thing burnt down, so they had to remove it. And then they just opted to not rebuild the silo and kind of just do away with it. So there's not too many pictures of it. However, putting together the 3 small pictures that I could find from the newspaper article of the fire, this is my best guesstimate of what it looked like. And also, I'm also referring to the other agways in the area, specifically the one at Belmead, the one in Bordentown. Usually when they built their silos, they were just the open concrete silo like that. I don't believe that Englishtown had a head house on their silo. I do know that the one at Belmead did. So that's why I kind of speculated on that portion of it. But it is done as best as representation that I could come up with. And as you can see, it is a rather unique structure. It kind of looks something like out of Ohio or Iowa or out in the Midwest. It doesn't look like something that should be in New Jersey, but it's a very good representation of it, and it really stands out on the layout. Okay, so this facility here, this is Triangle Lumber. This facility here in Englishtown actually went through a couple iterations. Prior to Triangle Lumber, there was a manufacturer that made plastic buckets, but their building collapsed during a snowstorm in the late 70s. Then Triangle Lumber built a facility here. Once they closed down, they sold out to a concrete form company, and I think they still occupy the space now. Back when Triangle Lumber was there, I did find it on the ZTS maps, but that they were doing deliveries there of lumber. So that's why I represented it there. Okay, so the track configuration here in Englishtown. So looking at the older maps, I couldn't find one under Penn Central, but I kind of looked back through historical aerials. There is evidence of a track here in this location in Englishtown. I took some pictures of it. It's actually coming up through the grass, and it's not the lead that there's a switching lead that went into a lumber facility that's over here. And it wasn't, that was not the track. It was actually another track. So I believe Penn Central had a run around there, but it looked like Conrail must have ripped it out. So I put it back in there just for operational interest, for doing runarounds, for when I'm doing switching. So the crossings here at Route 527 and Station Street over here, the crossings are linked, so that when you activate one, they all go off. And that's with Logic Rail's photovoltaic crossing signal system. Now, the only bad thing about the photovoltaic, so the IR sensors that we use down there, they're big and bulky and you can kind of see them. The photovoltaic cells are very small and easily hidden in scale. The problem is that when you go to nighttime operation, these constant trigger. They don't work during low light situations. Those down there, the IR sensors, do work at nighttime. So it's kind of a trade-off. So I'm still kind of deciding which way I want to go with this. So as you can see, as we're progressing further down the layout, as my experience has gotten better, you can see that the scenes are a little more completed. So as I finished them, I made sure to complete them more than I did at Sayreville, just because it was just easier to do it at that point. Okay, so on the peninsula here, this is Route 522. Route 522 never tied into Station Street, but I kind of had to do it to blend the scenes together. Route 522 coming down out of Englishtown, down past Monmouth Battlefield State Park. So I've talked about the history of this location in depth. Just go back and watch that video if you want to know more. Very happy with the way the scene came out. The trees really helped break it up, and when you're standing from the doorway, it kind of helps block everything that we've already seen. So this road here is Wimrock Road as it goes underneath the Freehold Secondary, which we call the Sayre Secondary here. Over to your left here, this would have been Wimrock Orchards, and then to the right, that would have just been an open farm field. Route 522 is there on the other side of the bridge, and it's going from Englishtown to Freehold. So this is the view of the layout that we've already seen from Sayreville all the way to Freehold. As you can see, it's pretty impressive when you're standing from the doorway. Okay, so continuing our tour, the line comes down through Freehold, crosses under Route 9, comes down into the industrial area of Freehold. This would be the warehouse or lumber facility in Freehold. The two boxcars that you see there on this side, this is the team track at Freehold. Route 522 will continue into the backdrop. Down along this portion of the line, right over in here, this is kind of where Freehold ends and Howell begins. And that facility over there is Prestone Antifreeze, where that structure is along the backdrop. So this is kind of the freelance portion of this layout where the Freehold Secondary joins the Southern Secondary. I know it's not an exact representation because it's more of a mirror image, because we're flipping from the kind of just the way that the track configuration would go. This is the only way I can make it work in the layout room. So that line that goes there, that's going to the Southern Secondary towards Red Bank, and then the line curves around, goes down to now travels to Compass South, Railroad South, down into Lakewood. Howell is kind of pretty much that little area over here. That would be Howell. So as the line progresses down to the south into Lakewood, we come down to Danasso's here. This is a facility in Lakewood that was known to get building supply products for a long time before they went and sold, and is now a condo development. Then the line progresses here to this building, which I had no idea what this building was, and over the last few months I've learned that that was actually the C&J station in Lakewood that was converted to the town hall at one point, and it's now an office building. So that's going to be a scratch build there, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun when we get it done. This right here, the area right here, this is going to be Route 88 as it comes across, and then the road that goes down along the angle here. The line then progresses down around the curve. This is the main line here, and then this track in the back is the line that services the Clayton Sand Pit. As you can see, you know, the scenery base is all in this section. This little line that comes off here represents the spur line that goes to Naval Air Station Lakehurst. That was kind of a temporary solution for a few years while they were doing the cleanup over on the contaminated dirt at the Beaumark facility. So then the line then progresses down. Again, we're on the Southern Secondary, the C&J line, but we call this the main line of the Sayre Secondary. This comes down under Route 70 overpass. The signal bridge that there is, it's still there to this day, even though it's been long abandoned. So this portion of the line is almost prototypical. The line came here and then broke off, and then this was the Times River Industrial under Conrail. It was the C&J's Barnegat branch that headed out that way. This would be the main line here, and this is the end of the siding. This location here would have been the location of the C&J's Lakehurst station. This here, for all of you people who don't know, the C&J fans know that this would have been the route of the Blue Comet. So I'm kind of, as we progress along and I'm doing more research, I'm learning more and more about this area and the history of it. So this portion of the layout here, the main line now goes underneath into hidden area and it goes down another helix. This signal here, there was no signal at this location. However, I put it here just to tell operators whether the lower level is clear or not based upon the dispatcher, and it's dispatcher controlled. Now this road that you see here, this is Route 37. Now questions have come up lately about when I modeled this. If you go back into historical aerials and you look, this area where Route 37 was back up until the late 80s was just a little two-lane road. The state didn't really expand it as much. If you look at it now on Google Earth, it's a big four-lane highway with a divider. So that's why it looks the way it is, because I'm modeling it from the mid-80s. The other question that came up when I was finishing this section was that, yes, I know the main line never crossed under Route 37. However, it's the only way that I could kind of blend the two scenes together and kind of make the main line work, was to kind of build a highway overpass for the main line to go underneath. Okay, so then the Toms River Industrial then comes over Route 37 and comes into the Ciba-Geigy facility. Ciba-Geigy is very compressed. You have to realize that the Ciba-Geigy property was 1,300 acres. They only developed 300 acres. The line that went through to service it was close to a mile long, and there was no way I could fit it in. So I kind of had to scale it back, and this is the best track configuration that I could find to fit into the space. So there's a lot of compression and a lot of changes that don't really match the prototype exactly. The buildings that you see here are the buildings that I did to my best representation of what I could find of Ciba-Geigy, so that that building there, which is a Walthers Metro Power kit, that is the steam plant, the newer section. This lower section here, which is the remnants of Allied Rail Builders from Walthers, that is the old steam plant. All these tanks that you see here are all scratch built. The water tower I got off of eBay. It was scratch built by a gentleman out of Florida. He has since he has stopped building them and doesn't sell anymore on eBay. So I actually did a lot of research to see if I could still find them for everybody, but it looks like it was kind of a one and done, and I kind of lucked out on that. I got that about 7 years ago, and it's been in storage right up until a couple of months ago when I put it out for this section. The big building that you see in the back is Building 105. Building 105 had a bunch of different functions. It was a final production facility. It was also a receiving and discharge facility. They received a lot of different things there and then moved them to different parts of the plant. So that's Building 105. Building 105 was actually compressed. It was probably about 30% actually larger than what it is, and if I made it actual size, it wouldn't have fit in. Small brick building that you see here, that is my representation of Building 108. That is a kit from DPM. It's a plastic kit that I put together. All of this facility here that you see, all of the piping and tanking tanks, that is all 3D printed from Engineer. Refer back to the Ciba-Geigy build videos. I have all of the information on how you can get that, and also there's a lot more history on the facility that you can see on that video. So this is looking from the doorway. This is the area that we just toured from Freehold down through Lakewood, curving around into Lakehurst, then coming up, and then Ciba-Geigy. All right, everyone, so we're at the staging yard. We got a TV train lined up on track 6. That's the track all the way against the wall, and this is going to represent Newark, New Jersey. We're going to call this train TV11. This is going to be a southbound train heading towards Philadelphia. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to check our lineup, and we'll get ready to move. Okay. Lineups, turnouts, our signals are set, and we're all set to go. Alright, so TV11's moving. It's going to head through the hole in the wall. And as you can see from the status board there, we can see the monitor on the lower level of the big helix. And that is the direction that we're headed to. Okay, everyone, so we've relocated into the layout room. The TV11's on the big helix on the way up in a southbound direction. And just to let you know, the big helix is located underneath the South Amboy engine facility, right over here, right near Brown's Yard. So we'll get the train up the helix and we'll pick it up on the top. Okay, so now we're at the top of the helix here. This is what the CP1 on the Sayerhurst secondary. As you can see, the signal indication is red. We have a train coming southbound, and TV11 is just coming out of the top of the big helix now. Alright, TV11's exiting yard limits. This is Gatsmer Avenue in Jamesburg. And it's going to be heading down Jamesburg. TV11 just crossed over South Main Street in Englishtown. It's coming down past the Agway. The TV11's passing Monmouth Battlefield State Park and is getting ready to cross over Wemrock Road. And it's going to head down into Freehold. TV11 is passing under Route 9 overpass, heading down and past the lumberyard and freehold. Now we're coming out of Farmingdale down into Lakewood. Now we're coming down into Lakehurst area, passing the Glidden Sand Pit and the spur to the Lakehurst Naval Air Station. Now we're passing the town of Lakehurst, coming under the Route 70 overpass. And we are leaving the main layout area. We'll be entering the small helix here on the southern end of the layout. And that is Ciba-Geigy in the back on the Toms River Industrial. Okay, so to facilitate watching trains in the small helix, I've added a camera system here. TV11 is now on level 3 of the small helix, and then the track down below that is going to be level 2. And then you shift to the second camera mode, and this will give you level 1. And you can see at the top, you can see the train moving, the top of level 3. Upper left. Okay, so here we're at the exit of the small helix on the underside of the layout. So the train is now going to loop back around itself on the underside, and that's what all these tracks down below are for. This is the Lakewood area under here on the back side of the layout. It's now going underneath. And I'll go through the hole in the dividing wall. And here we are underneath Jamesburg, and the train's going to continue on down this way, and then go underneath Brown's yard behind the toolboxes and enter the staging yard behind the big helix. And here we are back at the staging yard, and TV11 is pulling back in on track number 6, and this now represents Philadelphia. All right, everyone. So there you go. That's our tour. I hope this you enjoyed the walking tour, and I hope the following the train along helped everybody visualize what's going on here on the layout. Looking forward to our videos to show the progress that we'll be making this year, and thanks for watching. So next month, I think we're going to be going over to Sayreville to do detail work, because I'm still waiting for my last Fast Tracks turnout kit to arrive, the number 6 straight, so I can get working on building those in preparation for the next step in the process here of finishing up this area here. Okay, so that's going to wrap up this video. So I hope you enjoyed following along, and I thank you for all your support and watching. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Otherwise, that's all I have for you, and thanks, and I'll see you next time. Bye.